property preservation. A lot of people, this is a very unknown industry to. I never even knew it existed until about 5 years ago. So, property preservation is we take care of vacant and foreclosed homes for the banks. The process is we maintain, secure, and protect the homes and properties on behalf of banks, lenders. We work with agents. So pretty much we go in and we make sure that these properties are taken care of until they are put back on the market. We do inside work, we do outside work, and we try to keep our communities looking nice and feeling safe.
We've all driven by the neighborhood and seen that 4 foot tall grass, all the garbage sitting outside, and that
Yeah, nobody wants
assets.
to see that. They
Yeah,
pay all this money for their homes. They don't want to look out their back window and see this garbage dump next to them.
and that is one of the key fundamental principles of what the industry needs to change is we do not work for banks. We do not work for the national clients. We get paid by them. We work for our
Yes.
neighbors. We work for our neighborhood. We work for the guy that just bought his $500,000 house and has to look at a dilapidated pool that's breeding mosquitoes and dead squirrels, and that's his view for the morning coffee. Those are the people we work for, and also we do service a, economic point because we're helping to protect those assets that the bank has money in. So therefore, we're also saving interest rates, we're saving fees because if the banks weren't if the banks were just stuck with these properties, they would lose. They would lose all their money, they would lose all their investments. Then where would we be? And that's the critical part of an unknown industry, that we are there to not only preserve and protect the community base, but also to protect your mortgage, your assets, because again, the neighborhood values go down because of that disgusting house on the block. Well, that means your home values go down too.
So is it easy to deal with the banks and the lenders and the people who actually pay you guys to do business, or what's all involved in that?
That's a yes and no. It depends on the
Mhm.
day. Um, I wouldn't say it's incredibly hard to work with these people. Some of them can be a little more strict than others, can be a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Annoying than others, I guess. But for the most part, it's not hard working with the nationals, but you always have to make sure that in this industry, communication is key with these people. As long as you communicate with them either over the phone or through emails, um, that is a huge, huge thing. If you don't communicate with them, you can lose work. You can like really reduce your workload. You have to be able to communicate with these people.
And that's one of the key things is in larger cities where there's higher population, there's obviously more work that needs to be done. There's more properties that need to be worked on opposed to more of a rural community. So as you're starting out, that's one of the bigger things is you need to figure out how far you can travel and are willing to travel. Again, if you are in downtown Washington, D.C., of course, you're going to have a lot more business because it's a much more dense populated area opposed to somewhere in the Midwest where it's 20 minutes to your neighbor's house. So those are some bigger things too. And remember, we go where the work is. The work does not come to us. So this is not a
Correct.
business where you open up a door, you put a whole bunch of stuff on the shelves and you hope it works out. This is a service industry where we need to maintain the properties in a location, and the key thing is to have enough in that area to make it worthwhile to go there. um, you might pick up a house or a property that is 25 miles away. Well, that's great, but if you build that area up in that certain town by talking with different clients, different brokers, different regional companies, you're able to gain that area. This is a $1 trillion industry. Most of our money is reimbursed through HUD, through FHA, through VA. There are rules and allowables that are set forth by the federal government, but this work never stops. This work does not end. And beyond a fraud check, it's a pretty prosperous business. But that's where it really gets into as a whole is that those little acronyms you see and you hear about on the news, such as HUD, which is an FHA and VA, and FNMA, and there's a few more in there too. These are all the government agencies that underwrite and back the loans. Now, I am not a financial analyst, nor do I claim to know all of that workings. But basically, at the end of the day, when the basic collapse happened back in '08, the federal government, part of their regulatory system, so that way it wouldn't happen again, started to put in place different things. And one of those is basically property preservation, to where the banks will not lose money on their assets, but the government gives every property an allowable base per year for the bank to utilize to maintain the property and take care of any issues. This is where the industry of property preservation came about, where it used to be a small bank or a small real estate agent or something into that effect would hire local contractors, mail in Polaroids. Imagine that. And
Yeah,
now it's manipulated into this $1 trillion industry that we live in that most people don't know about until you see that guy running around that house where your neighbor moved out of 6 months ago. And with technology today, a lot of smart people figured out how to brand it, how to manipulate it, how to rewrite it, how to legislate it, how to lobby for it, and then how to make a lot of money at it.
hmm
A lot of money.
you can make
Um,
a lot of money in this industry if you know how to do it.
And that's where a key thing gets into, because this industry, as being in it for over a decade, is truly its own beast. By meaning of, I can take the best golf course landscaping crew in the country and throw them on our properties, and they would have no idea what to do and how to do and how to get paid and how to justify those payments either. And that, as we move through this, we're going to be touching on so many little topics, and that's where I feel my mission is that I see billions and billions and billions of dollars being spent. But also, I see so much of the work that's being paid for not being done properly, not being done safely. And Larry, the neighbor, has to look at that house. And that's where we are trying to change things as a whole in the industry to make it better. One company at a time, one person at a time. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
So, but that's one big thing with the preservation industry is rules, rules, and more rules. If you want paid, you have to do it a certain way, a certain time, and a certain day, and tell them
Yeah.
a certain way, and then it works. And then you get paid, and
Yeah.
that's where again we will come in and through little nuggets of knowledge, through the painful back charges, through the bad mistakes that we have made, maybe you can pick up something and not make those mistakes.
So, just for people that don't understand property preservation business in general, so you guys aren't just like regular home construction people, or some kind of contractor. You guys are a little bit different. Now, can the regular construction guy or the regular junk hauler guy, can they actually become a property preservation contractor eventually? What skills are needed to do this job?
I would say a lot of the skills that we do are maintenance, handyman skills. There's nothing too over the top, depending on how in depth you want to get to into this, because there are several different kinds of property preservation contractors. You can have ones that do whole home renovations or room renovations for the bank, or then you also have the ones that just go in and do the grass cuts or the handrails, the winterizations, the minor stuff that is needed. But then some of these jobs, they go into much greater detail. There's burn houses, there's old falling down houses, they have insurance scopes that are involved. So it really honestly depends on how in depth into this field. It's very vast. How in depth you yourself want to go.
And that's where you do have companies that are subcontractors that get direct work from the banks, from the real estate agents, from the national clients, and then they will take a larger job and then they will take a bit of that job for management aspects, but then they'll give the grass cutter the grass cuts. They will give the roofer guy the roofer repair. They'll give the HAVC tech
Mm-hmm.
the furnace and the AC unit, and he'll give the plumber that, and they'll reorganize that and make sure everything happens and gets situated for the larger client. So yes, if you have a small landscaping business and you want to grow your business infinitely, yes, you can talk to a regional company, such as mine, such as Mary's, and say, hey, I want to cut grass on foreclosure properties. And then, there's instructions, there's ways to do things, there's a process, but you get some insurance, you get some general liability insurance, you get yourself your smartphone, and yes, through training and through knowledge, you can turn it into a very large company that has no limits, because there are foreclosure properties in California, as well there in Maine, in Texas, in Washington State, and in Florida. There's foreclosures everywhere. And
Everywhere.
the thing with most people don't think about it. Go to Zillow and look up foreclosure properties. Go look into the pre-foreclosure market. Um, Most counties in America have, well, of course, depending on size, East Coast, West Coast, but I mean, just our local counties with 90,000 people have 3,000 foreclosure homes or pre-foreclosure homes. They're always around because it's not the economic collapse. That's the only time you hear about it on the news. But what happens when someone dies? The banks still have to deal with the situation. What happens if there's a disease and someone is incapacitated, taken out of the home? The bank still needs to deal with it. No one's paying the bills. Then you have disasters, a fire, a tornado, a tree falling on a house people walk away from because they grab the insurance check and run. And then you have divorce. Divorce is a very big thing where, again, two people get together, life doesn't work out, but they have this huge asset that's now worth a lot of money, and people are greedy. People love to fight over money. Um, so there you have those aspects where, husband moves away, my wife moves away, and you have this asset that the lawyers keep bickering about, and we just come in and snatch it up. But that also is one of the key things that drives our industry. That isn't a financial collapse, isn't $5 a gas, isn't 22% inflation. It's just life happens. These are the 4 Ds that drive our industry, and they are always there. Beyond COVID, which was a huge moratorium placed on evictions, we were still running, and eventually those evictions went out in 1.5 million house blocks. And life kind of still got around to it, but there's still a few COVID houses out there, as we call them. But the business doesn't die; it's always around, and it's turned into as I said, $1 trillion industry service to the banks. And whenever you throw banks and government and high money in it, there's money to be made. The question is, are you making it or not? How do you make it? How do you avoid the $5,000 chargeback? How do you avoid, you didn't report it, so we're going to charge you back $2,000? How do you avoid, hey, it's been 60 days, where's my money? How do you avoid those? And that is what will make you successful or not. That's one of those things too. Working in this industry, you do see the aftermath of some of the bad things of life. You see a divorce
Yes.
that went wrong and turned into a homicide. You saw family life go wrong, and the guy or the person there was literally abusing the children. And I mean, bad. We see those things in life. We see the funny things of life too, like the movie 50 Shades of Grey. People have those rooms. People have those rooms. I'm telling you, they do. I've seen them.
They actually exist.
You do see those moments. You see the moments where the gentleman or the elderly lady passed away and decomposed, and you see the where someone hung themselves, where someone shot themselves. You see, no, we don't see dead bodies. I've never seen one in
No.
my existence. but you see the aftermath. You see
The
where there was
remnants.
a murder and blood-stained carpet. And I've thrown away lives. I've thrown away wedding dresses from 1946. They were gorgeous, but I don't need them. They don't fit me. Um, Memories, photographs, photo albums, wedding
So
albums.
many pictures.
Yeah.
Grandpa's ashes. They leave
Grandpa's
behind.
ashes, the dog's ashes, the grandma's ashes. So yeah, I mean, you see it all, and that's one thing too to be prepared for in this industry. You're going to see a little bit of that stuff. You're going to hear those stories. You're going to hear the hardships that people go through, but it's a job because again, at the end of the day, bad things happen to great people, and great things happen to bad people, and you can't control them. We just found a
That's
way to
the
make money at it.
mystery of life.
And again, as I always say, we make money out of those bad areas, but just because people at 102 had a massive falling out and got divorced, it doesn't mean the guy in 103 next door has to live with rats, dealing with, his dog getting killed from eating poison in the yard, or dealing with 3 foot tall grass and his kids having to deal with raccoons and snakes and rats. It's not his
Mhm.
problem, but that's where our job come in, is to make sure he doesn't have a problem.
To make sure they don't have to deal with those kind of things, to keep their children safe and the community safe and looking nice.
Moving into different things, let's talk about the industry as a whole. Because at the end of the day, this industry, as I keep saying, is $1 trillion industry. It really is. Because you think about it, at HUD, 300 and something $billion. VA, FHA, all of these government agencies get money to take care of the loans that they underwrite and the loans that they do. Example, like VA is Veterans Administrations. They have certain criteria. You have to be a veteran to get one of their loan products. The FHA, Federal Housing Authority, they have their own criteria. HUD, Housing Urban Development, they have their own little thing. So you have a lot of different agencies, and they need money to take care of the properties that they underwrite from your local bank. Now, your local bank may write your loan and might do your thing, but they normally sell those mortgages out very, very, very quickly to keep the money flowing. So when a property from VA gets foreclosed on or pre-foreclosure, you have to follow the VA rules and regulations. Same thing with the FHA and HUD. But with all that being said, there are companies that I personally know that do $20 million a year just in preservation. Some of these contracts are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're small and local. The best part is that you can go anywhere in this country and do this business. So if you don't like living where you're living, figure it out and you can move. And you can have work the very next day.
You'll still
Um,
have a job no matter
and
where you go. Even Alaska, if you like the cold. I don't know why, but they do have work in Alaska. They have Hawaii, Virgin Islands. Like, it's all over the place.
mhm. Anywhere where U.S. territory works, and we have
Hmm.
several friends up in Alaska doing preservation work. They work for 6 months out of the year. Um, that's all they do. That's all they have, and it's extremely expensive because everything has to be trucked up there. They always complain about how expensive prices are when I complain down here. It's kind of funny, but the biggest news is, or the biggest thing is, at the end of the day, there is always room for high quality contractors to learn a trade, to learn how to make money, and you can make a lot of money with
You
low
can.
investment. The biggest thing is that avoiding the pitfalls that will destroy your business before you get into it. Because again, this is not you going to happy homeowner knocking on the door and then painting their garage door. There are rules, there are things you have to follow, there are things you have to do, and you don't do certain things, it can take that profitable $1,000 job and turn it into a back charge of $999 because you forgot to take a picture, you forgot to follow a procedure. Next thing you know, you're broken out of business and you don't know why you can't make any money. Or you do it so poorly and you do it wrong that you don't deserve to make the money. You need to go find to do something else.
And then they just won't give you work anymore.
They won't give you work anymore. So, like I say, it's a double-edged sword. Our industry is wonderful and great because it's consistently busy. The bad news is it's just a lot of procedures. But once you get the procedures down, it's easy.
Yeah, this is definitely an all year round business. Summer, winter, fall, rain, snow, shine, it does not matter what the weather is. Always work.
But it's also very cool because not only are you needed in an industry that is undersaturated, but also, there are vast opportunities. And once you've proven yourself an asset instead of a liability,
Mm-hmm.
people will come running to you. And I mean running to you. You know what you're doing. You've figured it out. You've cracked the code. We need you, and we will give you everything we got.
So I just went to a popular home improvement store and bought myself some hand tools and a handsaw. So what do I need to do to get started in the business? Is it something I can do like as a side job, or do I need to go out and buy a new truck, with a whole bunch of tools, or what exactly I need to get started? Because is this a good side hustle?
It can be a side hustle if you want it to be a side hustle. It can also be a full-time, this is how you make your living, your income, and your life. One of the biggest things that you want to do before you get started is you need insurance. You need general liability insurance, and you need insurance. You don't necessarily have to buy like a brand new truck, but you do need to have a vehicle that you can haul stuff with. Lawnmowers, basic gear, basic hand tools. You have to, one of the biggest things in this industry is photos. You have to have a phone that takes good pictures, and you have to have a phone that gets decent service. Some of the places these people send you up in the mountains, you have to be able to make sure that you can get your photos to your client. If they don't have the photos, you do not get paid. Photos. That is one of the biggest things in this industry. You don't need a whole lot to get started. You need some basic knowledge, some basic tools, your insurance, your phone. Get some clients. You do have to have a really good background, though. They do background checks on all of their contractors. And then you also need to apply for what they call an ABC number, an Aspen Grove number, which will give you your own specific identification so they know who is visiting their properties.
Okay, so I got my business started and I got all my tools and everything, got my phone. So what can I expect to make in a year?
Well, the bigger question with that is it's up to you. Because at the end of the day, I can go work a job that is not very tasking, don't require an education, don't apply myself, do as little as possible. Of course, I'm going to make a little amount of money. It all depends on what you do, what you're willing to take on, what you know, what you can do. There are so many vast fingers into this business. You can be someone who runs around and just take pictures and puts pieces of paper. You can make $800 to $1,000 a week. You can be a full-fledged, I'm going to learn grass cuts, I'm going to learn, different things, and I'm kind of handy, so I'm going to do some basic repairs. You can make $50,000 to $100,000 a year. You can have a couple buddies running around, and you can find some great people to help you, and you can make $25 million a month. It depends on the applications you want to put into it. If you want something small as a side hustle to fill in for a few days, there's ways to do that. There are ways to get that. If you are looking for, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to change my career, that's what I did. I got into this industry because a friend of mine started a junk removal business in Virginia, and he said he works with banks. I'm like, well, that's a great idea. I'm going to start one too. So I had a pickup truck and a little trailer, and there it was. And then I realized, hey, wait a minute, this is a real pain in the butt trying to get my information out to people and try to find that service that people need. Well, then I started looking deeper, and then I found, hey, wait a minute, the banks need this assistance. The bank needs this help. I'm going to go to them. And that's what I did. And with that, I turned it into a very large, successful company. Depends on what you want to do. Can you replace your income? Sure. I know people that were kind of part-time making 50 grand a year doing this. I know people that really bust into it and they make about $500,000 a year doing this. I know very super large companies that make hundreds of millions of dollars doing this. Depends on what you want. So that's what you need to figure out. What do you want to replace? Once you have everything set up, you have your basic tools, you need to figure out what you can do. What is your target that you're going to perform? You're going to do inspections, you're going to do grass cuts only? Are you handy with this? Are you handy with that? What can you do? Are you a roofer? That's no problem. We've put on many of roofs. We've tarped many of roofs. We've done plenty of things like that. Are you a plumber? If you're not too busy, yeah, there's great opportunities as far as for winterizations, as far as doing some of the plumbing work and getting something like that. If you are a carpenter, if you are a generalized handyman, sure. If you're a landscaping guy, sure. There's all kinds of stuff. The question is that you want to try to expose yourself to handle as much as you possibly can and being that one-stop shop for the banks that you have. So again, it depends on the person, what equipment you have, and what you're willing to do, and what you know.
And how much time you want to invest into it.
Yep, exactly. So again, you can start small, build from there, work with different people, sure, but build it into something.
So you said you're working with banks and mortgage companies. You ever work with like real estate agents or like actual property management places, or just strictly banks and mortgage companies?
We do work with some real estate agents. We've worked with a handful throughout the areas that we cover. You can work, depending on where you're located, you can work 100% with real estate agents if that's what you prefer, or you can dabble in it. But yes, we do work with real estate agents as well as the banks.
How do they pay?
Slow.
Is that like a monthly thing, or like you get a check, or?
A lot of companies, they do direct deposit. Real estate agents, they usually send out checks. Some of the regionals and smaller nationals, they send out checks, but a lot from what I've seen, they do direct deposit. And it depends on the client on how long it takes them to pay. Some of the mostly they're supposed to be net 30, net 45. Some do take longer than that, depending. Real estate agents definitely take longer than 30 days.
And that's where it gets into, it's the chain of command. So you do a job, you take the photographs, it goes up, and then it goes up, and then it goes up again, then it gets paid for, then it comes down, then it comes down, then it gets to you. So there's a process involved in all of that because, again, it is government stuff. And that's another big thing to think about is your carrying charges, your carrying costs, because at the end of the day, can you handle and drive around and put $1,000 worth of gas in your gas tank before you even see your first payment of any kind? Those are part of that industry, the rules that are set forth by the higher powers. And that's one of the downfalls of the industry because it does allow for a lot of corruption and a lot of issues when you start getting into more questionable clients that aren't direct, that aren't working for the bank. And those are definitely some segments we're going to be having, dealing with the offshore regional companies, dealing with the shell companies that are in this industry that really shouldn't be, which we will talk a lot more about that in time. But, you have companies that are dealing with the smaller guy who can't afford to go spend $5,000 and put liens on properties, or to deal with lawyers and filing lawsuits. So they just eat the charges. And again, that's another pitfall of the industry. Watch who you're dealing with, watch how you're doing business, and watch your contracts.